Hey, it's Deep Focus. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman. This is part 2 of 3 parts from July 24th, 2023. Ahmed Abdullah and Monique Ngozi are with me. We are listening to and discussing the music of the great Sun Ra. We talk at some length a number of times about an event at Strand Bookstore, which was a whole lot of fun, but it's in the past. So it's not something to look forward to at this point, but the book, A Strange Celestial Road, is still available, at least as of the time of this recording, through Blank Forms, and it really is very revealing. Fans of Sun Ra and of Ahmed's will get a great deal of joy from this. I encourage you to check that out. So, okay, here's part 2. If you didn't hear part 1, if you just stumbled in here, well, you might want to go check out part 1 first. But otherwise, here you go. That is some music that you have never heard. I'm willing to bet. It's from Sun Ra. You're listening to WKCR FM New York, WKCR HD, WKCR.org, 89.9 FM here in New York City, or maybe you're listening to the Deep Focus podcast. Anywhere in the world, anytime you want, you can download it, take it with you. If you're listening live, this episode will get posted next week and join hundreds of other episodes, all free, advertisement free, yours to share with the people you love. And also, if you're listening live and you're in the New York City area, well, I'm going to tell you something special. But first, let me let you know what we're doing. The show, Deep Focus, we have a guest come into the studio, and they choose the topic for our attention. And I'm so fortunate to have Ahmed Abdullah here with us and Monique Ngozi, and we are plunging into the music of Sun Ra, with whom, Ahmed, you made music for more than 2 decades while he was still here with us. And you've written a book about it, which I'm thrilled. I've been immersed in it for the last few days, A Strange Celestial Road. And I should mention with Luis Reyes Rivera, co-author.
Absolutely, yes. Just like you took a lot of notes too, man.
I got a few. I'm ready. I did my homework. I'm paying attention.
Yes,
trying to stay with it. So we're in Bourg-la-Reine, France. Leap Day, 1980. And who is the orchestra at this time, and what did we just hear in that last set? Because there's all kinds of things going on that are not maybe what people might expect listening to Sun Ra, or anybody else for that matter.
Well, we started with Love in Outer Space, which wasn't listed on this programmatic piece here that we have, and then we went to Watusi, although it's spelled W-A-T-U-S-A. We always called it Watusi. And then we heard A Hymn to the Sun. And I was saying to Mitch off air that I thought that the band was going to go into one of my favorite Sun Ra flute pieces called Pleiades. But this seemed like it was a completely different piece called Hymn to the Sun, which featured Marshall Allen and Danny Thompson. We called him Pico. And then the fabulous one, June Tyson, came in to sing Lost Horizon, which I've not heard in years, and that was just wonderful rendition of that. And then my B-flat brother, Mike Ray, did an unaccompanied solo, which was marvelous. I'd never heard that before. I'd never heard him play in that particular style. Very, very, very different and beautiful, melodic and really in-depth stuff. So, that's what we heard on that last set. The people in the band, other than those I mentioned, Noel Scott, is on baritone, alto sax, and percussion. John Gilmore, we mentioned. Kenny Williams is also in this band, and Chris Henderson is a drummer, and Eric Samurai Walker, another bad brother, and June Tyson, and of course Sun Ra leading the ensemble.
And Sun Ra took an extended stroll in there, which is not something I remember him doing so much.
Yes.
That's not your phone, listeners. That's here in the studio. And late breaking news from the outer spaceways. But, that was a bit of a surprise. He seemed to be sitting out for a chunk of time there, and I'm wondering if that's something that he did from time to time. I don't remember ever hearing him do that.
Not that long. That was it was different for him to stay out that long. Yeah. So, but he gave people a lot of room, man, to stretch out.
Yeah, and they took it. They were right at home, and that was I don't know if that was arranged, but all of that just felt really organic and rich. The communication between Marshall and Danny Ray Thompson, both playing flutes, that's unusual. When do you ever hear that?
Yeah.
And they just intertwine those lines around each other it sounded like it was perfect. Written and yet of the moment.
Yes.
It was like a Bach fugue or something. It just was with some blues in there and everything else too. That was really beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think they recently played at where is the place they played just now?
Blue?
Where we did the
Pioneer
reading,
Works?
Pioneer Works.
Oh, yeah.
And Marshall did a little solo that was kind of reminiscent of that. Maybe not quite as complex in terms of the overlay of the voices, but Marshall plays so many instruments, and the fact that he's still belting it out there at 99 is amazing. But his musicality is always something that's just stunning. Yeah. He just spends so much time practicing on the various instruments, and he did something that was a little akin to that piece. But I did want to dwell a little bit on June Tyson,
please.
because we were talking off air, about just the magical quality of her voice, and it really does feel like a space outer cosmic vocalist, right? And she was doing that work, long before the title Afrofuturism came into being.
Oh, yeah.
John's.
I think she helped create that.
Absolutely. And John Swed said that she met Richard Wilkinson, who was her husband and the manager of the band for some time, that they were introduced to Sun Ra by a former manager of the band. But Ahmed was pointing out that June lived round the corner from the Black Repertory Theatre, Black Arts Repertory School, and so there's a real possibility that they met during that particular incarnation. But she was trained. She was singing Broadway songs, right? So she was trained to do that. So one of the things that you hear in terms of the quality of her lyricism is also that she puts that energy and training into what she's doing with the Sun Ra Arkestra. And also she played so many different roles. She played the violin at Sun Ra's behest, but she was also a choreographer of the dance. She helped to arrange some of the tours. She did the costumes. So she was in many ways like Sun Ra's right-hand person in terms of putting his vision actually into being. And often the role that particular people, particularly women, play in some of these movements is not heard or understood. So I've spent quite a lot of time researching June Tyson, and I'm hoping that at some point there will be some documentation of the work that she did and the role that she played in the Sun Ra Arkestra. But I'm always mesmerized by her voice and her ability. She didn't always know what was coming, but somehow she managed to just pull it off. Sun Ra would just be like, okay, you're on.
And when she comes in, when her voice comes into this recording, and obviously this was a live performance. It wasn't made to be listened to in this way, but the sound of her voice, because I remember her sounding a little more burnished when she got older. It's like a bell.
Clear,
it's
so
just
clear.
Transparent.
Yes,
it's beautiful.
absolutely.
So beautiful.
Absolutely. And the range. The range is just fantastic.
And her pitch, her control of that. And it's kind of funny. I don't think I ever heard her sing other than with Sun Ra, and it's kind of inseparable in my mind.
Yeah.
Her sound and the orchestra.
Right.
And how something you talk about, I don't know if on this mic break if I've mentioned this book, but if I have, I think it's worthy of repetition because you, Ahmed Abdullah, just have published this book, A Strange Celestial Road, My Time in the Sun Ra Arkestra. It's published by Blank Forms in Brooklyn. And tomorrow night, as we speak on July 24th, 2023, if you're with us and you are within range of New York City, we are going to be doing a little interview, the three of us.
Yes.
Tomorrow night at the Strand Bookstore, the fantastic Strand Bookstore on Broadway, between 4th Avenue and 12th Street in the Village, 7 p.m. up on the third floor in the Rare Books.
Was it Broadway and 12th Street?
Yeah,
right?
Broadway.
Street,
It's Broadway and 12th Street, right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picturing that block.
Yeah,
yes.
That's right.
828 Broadway, I think, is the address.
Well, just a thing, in terms of the book, if you recall, Mitch, I talk about Danny and Marshall and their close relationship, and they were close right on up until the end of Danny's life on the planet. And so that flute duet that they're doing, that's indicative of the kind of closeness that they had throughout the time that I knew of the both of them. Yeah. So another thing about June at the Barts, there's a picture of her actually on the stoop of 108 West 130th Street, which is where the Barts was at. So it's the Barts was only around for 6 months in 1965. So that would have meant that she was there. She did know Sun Ra there because we saw the picture. We have confirmation of that. So yeah, that is more than likely where she met Sun Ra, and then from 65 on, she was probably a part of the band. I know that.
Well, one of the really powerful things about this book, anybody mean to be too silly about it, but I am excited about it. I've been immersed in the book for recent times, that if you're a fan of this band, it's funny to me, it almost seemed like the orchestra was just there. It was just always there. Right. And you really shine a light on where some of these things came from and how so-and-so joined the band and what the origin was of this aspect of it. There's so much great storytelling. And sidebar, I also have to mention your ground level view of the emergence of what became known as the loft jazz scene is invaluable history on people that enjoy this music. And a lot of that story just never really got documented properly. It was never told. It was never written down, or if it was, it hasn't necessarily, a lot of people aren't aware of it. And you give a real first-hand account. It's great.
It's true. Michael Heller's book is the only book that I know of that even comes close to being able to deal with fact and verse about the loft movement. But this is from the inside, just as the information about Sun Ra is from the inside. One of the things I wanted, because I've been dealing with this fact of this music not being respected enough in this country, because I believe that it is a music of liberation. And if I may, at the very beginning of this book, I have a dedication as to what this is all about. I say that I've capitalized the word jazz in this book for the same reason we capitalize African American or any other proper noun. The expression of Africans within this country is systemic. the oppression of Africans within this country is systemic. It has been developed into an art wherein the oppressed don't even understand the nature of their oppression. In fact, sometimes they use the words of the oppressor to gleefully define themselves. Jazz, a music of the spirit, is an art form where that is not allowed, because we have determined that our art form is one of liberation, and therefore we define the principles of what determines this expression of liberation culture. I just feel that when we write about this music, that we need to get the facts straight, because it is of historical importance. And the people that I know who put their lives into it were dealing with that. They were dealing with life conditions, realities, and so I think that it behooves the writer, whoever that person is, he or she, to get it right.
My guest is Ahmed Abdullah. The book is A Strange Celestial Road, My Life in the Sun Ra, My Time in the Sun Ra Arkestra, I should say. My time. And the show's deep focus on Mitch Goldman. Monique Ngozi-Nri is with us as well. And we are listening to a live recording of the orchestra from France, Bourg-la-Reine, Leap Day 1980. And do we know what's coming? Anything you want to call our attention to from this set?
No, let's listen to it and see what's happening.
Let's. All right. Music from Sun Ra, the words and imagination of Ahmed Abdullah, deep focus on Mitch Goldman. It's WKCR.
Is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise. The world is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise. The world is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise. The sunrise. The world is waiting for the sunrise. For the sunrise, the world is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise, the world is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise, the world is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise, the world is waiting for the sunrise, for the sunrise, for the sunrise, for the sunrise, sunrise. the spaceship Earth. The spaceship Earth. And you're outward bound, journeying through the stars. You on the spaceship Earth. Destination unknown. Destination unknown. You're on the spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth, you're outward bound. Destination unknown, destination unknown. You're on the spaceship Earth, and you're outward bound. Destination unknown, destination unknown. Spaceship Earth! Better pay your fare now. You get left behind. Spaceship Earth. Scheduled to be leaving soon. Spaceship Earth, scheduled to be leaving soon. To another place in the sun. 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 Spaceship Earth! Scheduled to be leaving soon. To another place in the sun. The first stop, Mars. Mars. The second stop is Jupiter. 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 Third stop is Saturn. The fourth stop is Uranus. The fifth stop is Neptune. The sixth stop is Pluto. You're on the spaceship Earth! You're on the spaceship Earth. You're outward bound. Destination unknown, destination unknown. You're on the spaceship Earth, and you're outward bound. Destination unknown, destination unknown. You're on the spaceship Earth. Better pay your fare now. You get left behind. Spaceship Earth. Scheduled to be leaving soon. Spaceship Earth. Able to believe in soon. To another place in the sun. 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 Spaceship Earth! Scheduled to be leaving soon. To another place in the sun. The first stop, Mars. Mars. The second stop is Jupiter. 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 The third stop is Saturn. The fourth stop is Uranus. The fifth stop is Neptune. The sixth stop is Pluto. You're on the spaceship Earth!
You are listening to live music you've never heard from Sun Ra and the Arkestra. This recording made on Leap Day, February 29th, 1980, Bourg-la-Reine, France. It's fun to say. I don't get to throw that French stuff around much. So, Bourg-la-Reine in the southern parts of Paris. But more importantly, so this recording you're probably not going to find at your neighborhood Tower record store, if there was such a thing anymore. But you will find fantastic albums from Sun Ra and the Arkestra. You'll find CDs. You'll find used records in the store if you look for them. You'll find digital downloads, and you should have them. And you can't have too many. There are so many great ones. Some are maybe more interesting than others, but you know what? You're going to listen to one of those ones that you bought and set aside and didn't think you liked. You're going to listen again and go, what was I thinking? This is great. And it's really such a wonderful thing to dive deeply into. And I could say the same thing about my guest in the studio. Ahmed Abdullah is here, and he played trumpet and vocalized and all kinds of other things with Sun Ra for more than 20 years. We're doing a deep focus tonight together, and you should have some of his music in your collection on the Silk Heart label, among others, and About Time, and whatever else you're going to find. Anything you find is going to be great. Always great sidemen, always great band vibe, so much fantastic music. And now, don't order yet, because you can also now get A Strange Celestial Road. This book is newly published by Ahmed Abdullah, and he lifts the veil on so many mysteries about Sun Ra and music and living in this world. And we are broadcasting tonight in New York City. It's July 24th, 2023. And I say that because tomorrow night we will be at the Strand Bookstore, and I'm inviting you. Tell them you know me, and you get in free. In fact, even if you don't tell them you know me, you can get in free, because it's a free event at the Strand Bookstore, 828 Broadway in the heart of Greenwich Village. You're going to want to go there, actually, just to go through that bookstore, because that bookstore is an inspiration every time you set foot in there. But when you go tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, walk up to the third floor to the Rare Books room, and you'll see my guest, Ahmed Abdullah, sitting next to Monique Ngozi-Nri, as he is tonight. And your humble narrator will be there as well. And we're going to talk about this book, and you'll have an opportunity to get. Now, if people ask really nice, Ahmed, will you sign a copy for them?
I absolutely will. I'll be honored to do that. Yeah. The book, actually, A Strange Celestial Road, is I wrote it with poet Luis Reyes Rivera, who's no longer on the planet, and it's published by Blank Forms Records. But we, Monique and I, do have a recording that's published by our publishing company, Melchizedek Music Productions, which is called Diaspora, which is an acronym for Dispersions of the Spirit of Ra meets Afro Horn. And that's a recording where we have two ex-Sun Ra musicians performing together. We did this before the pandemic in 2019, and it is a recording. We do some of Sun Ra's compositions, but we do original compositions, and we do compositions from the African diaspora. Yeah.
Fantastic. And something that occurred to me, partly we getting some calls from some very excited listeners, and somebody made a really good point. I'm listening to this, and I'm picturing in my head the many times I got to enjoy hearing the orchestra with Sun Ra. And even still today, they're performing. If you go and hear them under the leadership of Marshall Allen, who's on this recording we've been listening to, you will have a feast not only for the ears but also for the eyes. But this being radio, maybe listeners aren't getting that full experience, but I thought maybe you'd shine a light on what one saw as well as what one heard when encountering the orchestra.
Well, In writing this book, I had to go deep into the recesses of my mind to recall the fantastic experiences we had. And this is on page 42 of A Strange Celestial Road. This is one of the first experiences I had working with the band. It's at a place called The East in Brooklyn. Prior to the April 1975 concert with Sun Ra, I had worked at the East several times with different groups. Besides working with the Master Brotherhood, I had performed in 1970 with baritone saxophonist Ahmed Blewett in his New York debut as a band leader. The concert with Sun Ra and the orchestra was going to be something of special significance to me. One could feel the electricity in the room. Iabode, who was just 1 month away from delivery, we were told she was due in May, seemed to know everyone in Brooklyn, and Sun Ra was Brooklyn's folk hero. The stage was set for fireworks. I was ready. Sun Ra had me sit next to him as he was still figuring out where I would fit in as far as my solo capabilities were concerned. The horn players were arranged in a row at the front of the stage. The song we started with was Discipline 27. I was hearing it for the first time. The trumpeter Eba did show up for this gig, as did about 10 other people I had not rehearsed with. Danny Davis and Pat Patrick on reeds, Brother R. Robert Northern on French horn, Charles Stevens playing brass, John Orr on bass, Jimmy Johnson playing drums, 3 dancers, and a singer. Eba knew the music, but he and I were separated from each other by the sax section, which made it difficult to pick up the trumpet parts from my position. The next song was the 6/8 African-flavored Watusi, and Sun Ra pulled out all the stops. This song brought on 4 dancers, Judith Holton, who went by the name Wisteria Elmondu, Cheryl Banks, Ted Thomas, and June Tyson, who doubled as the band's singer. The audience was totally with the band. Jackson put down his flute, picked up 2 long curved sticks, stood on a chair, and played the ancient infinity drum. Soon everyone on stage was playing a drum. People in the audience were playing drums. I looked at Sun Ra as he rocked from side to side, smiling, listening, engrossed, shaking his head to the rhythm. The dancers leaped across the stage to the polyrhythms of the drum. This was no longer a concert. It was some kind of sacred ritual akin to a Yoruban bembe. On the wall behind the band, another person had set up a slide projector and was showing pictures of the Sun Ra Arkestra in Egypt. You could feel the audience and performers come together, lifting the energy of the room. Sun Ra let this go on for quite a while and then abruptly shifted gears. He played a melody on piano, and suddenly the band broke out into a song led by the tall, graceful June Tyson. This song is dedicated to nature's God, to nature's God. The audience went wild. Next, I would hear the melody of images being played on piano. My palms started sweating as I gripped my trumpet. John Gilmore kicked off the melody for the band. This was my moment. I stood up to take my first solo with the Sun Ra Arkestra. When I finished, the applause was deafening. For the rest of the gig, I played on every song that called for improvisation at Sonny's command. He had a way of signaling you that you knew he was talking to you and no one else. It wasn't rehearsed, but it was something you comprehended quickly. It was a form of telepathy. Suddenly, I understood why he didn't count off tunes in rehearsals. On stage, he just played the piano to introduce the song, and the band would come in. When he played L is the Sound of Joy on piano, it sent chills to me. This was my song, and this was my audience.
Ooh, man. Yes, that is Ahmed Abdullah reading to you from his book, A Strange Celestial Road, out on Blank Forms, publisher out of Brooklyn. And you just brought us there, man. You just took us to the East in 1975, a place of legend. And I don't know if anybody's told the story quite like that. That was, that's a moment, man. That is, and you knew it at the time, too, didn't you?
I felt it. And you know, the great thing about this book is that we have pictures, not of me playing with Sun Ra at the East, but of Sun Ra performing at the East and of the East. So you can get the visual in the book as well.
Yeah, this
words, and you get the pictures.
I was going to say, there's a film, Space is the Place.
Yes.
Which also, I believe, has the orchestra and their costumes. If people really want to see what the orchestra...
Space is the Place, yeah.
Space is the Place.
there's a couple few.
It's one or two films that show the orchestra in full flight. So that's another way that you can really check
Yeah.
to see what it was like. I remember seeing June... at Ronnie Scott's and elsewhere, and she has this movement with her hands. It's an Egyptian move. I can't do it myself, but there's a movement that she does, and Sun Ra, and I think both Sun Ra and June used to do this Egyptian movement, which is so evocative of Egypt, and they would do this kind of dance together. So they did a lot of things to bring the audience into this mythical world.
Yeah. So. And then sometimes, depending on the venue, they might just get up and start moving through the audience, too.
Yeah, the space hop.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question from out of no place. Something you refer to in the book. Tell us about the space chord.
The space chord. The space chord is based on the idea that there is an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent reality. Right? There's one God on this planet. Everybody has different names for that God, but that there is that one creator that has created everything that is living. And the understanding is that if you're working with people together, you're going to be vibrating in a certain kind of way. You and your environment become one. And so calling a space chord, Sun Ra would just randomly call a space chord, maybe to segue from one song to the other, maybe just to jolt the audience out of its complacency. And it would be something that would be a powerful, powerful chord, which he called the space chord, yeah? And it would be a random set of notes that we would everybody would play, and that would be it. And it would be so powerful that, it would knock people out like that. Well, that was the intent from the composer, Sun Ra, to jolt people out of their complacency, to move them into another dimension, another reality. Yeah.
I would imagine that the orchestra probably played an enormous range of types of venues and got a huge range of audiences and audience response, and whether people were sitting or standing, old, young, fancy or not, black, white, whatever it might be. And tell me if I'm right about that. And if so, how did that change what came off the stage?
Well, we musicians, artists are sensitive people. So you're always going to pick up on the audience. Whatever the audience brings, they're going to, is a symbiotic relationship. And that really is, the part of being an artist, being sensitive to your environment. And so, yes, it would, things would change depending on the environment that we're in, depending on the audiences there, depending on the day of the week, the vibrations of the day, the colors of the day, all of that has everything to do with it, because it's all one. Yeah.
If I haven't said it tonight, let me say that this show is called Deep Focus, and what it is about, we talk around it and through it, but I'm going to come out and say it. It's to let you know you should stand up, close that computer, put down that phone, and get yourself somewhere near you tonight. There's some musicians getting ready to play some music. And I'm not saying you should go for their sake. You should go for your sake. You owe it to yourself. You put up with a lot of stuff living in this world, and you deserve to be nice to yourself. Absolutely. And get there where the music is and be part of the music. You just heard Ahmed Abdullah say it, that the audience changes what's happening. You are creating the music. You aren't just sitting in the audience. You are every bit as much as the musicians. Am I overstating it to say that? Is that fair?
Absolutely true. You just facts.
Facts.
What you're giving.
That's what we traffic in here at WKCR. I'm Mitch Goldman, and that is what you'll find when you get your copy of A Strange Celestial Road, Ahmed Abdullah's book about his time in the Sun Ra Arkestra and come to the Strand Bookstore tomorrow night, July 25th, 2023, 7 p.m., the third floor Rare Book Room, and get yourself a signed copy. And we've got just a few minutes left of this set that we've been listening to from France, Bourg-la-Reine, Leap Day. I love that, and I loved what you said about the numerology of Leap Day 1980. And fantastic. We haven't said it in a while, so let me say it's Sun Ra, of course, playing the piano and various keyboards we've heard, and we've certainly heard him vocalizing. Michael Ray has been throwing some fire out of the trumpet. Reed section of Marshall Allen on alto, flute, and oboe. Noel Scott on alto, Barry Sax and percussion. John Gilmore, tenor and percussion. Danny Ray Thompson, baritone sax and flute. Kenny Williams, tenor, baritone sax and percussion. Chris Henderson and Eric Samurai Walker playing the drums. June Tyson, the wonderful June Tyson, vocals as well. It's a fantastic lineup of the orchestra from 1980. And Monique.
I did just want to mention, I think we listened to Destination Unknown, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the name of the last recording that Sun Ra had on the planet. So I just thought I would mention that. And June is obviously amazing on that in terms of vocals as well. But
that was another great June Tyson moment. Absolutely. And so we're going to hear the end of the set, and then we have, are we going to just lay down and just give up? No, we're not. We're going to give you something even grander surprise that's coming after this. So anyway, enjoy the orchestra in France 1980. It's Deep Focus. Ahmed Abdullah and Monique Ngozi Nri are here. It's WKCR. That's how that one ends. And not complaining about it at all. Maybe there was a little bit more, but, well, that was a whole lot of it. And if there is more, we're not going to hear it tonight. But that's a live recording from the WKCR archives of Sun Ra and the Arkestra at Bourg-la-Reine, France. Leap Day, February 29th, 1980. And we're inspired to listen to that particular music by our guest in the studio tonight. Ahmed Abdullah chose that as a topic, and that's no surprise if you know the book that he's just published, A Strange Celestial Road, My Time in the Sun Ra Arkestra. The show's called Deep Focus. I'm your host, Mitch Goldman. This is WKCR-FM New York, WKCR HD, WKCR.org on the web worldwide. You could tell your friends everywhere. That's the place to find us. 89.9 FM here in New York City. You can also hear this show, Deep Focus, on the Deep Focus podcast. You can find that on, it should be on your favorite podcasting app, on that phone in your pocket. Or you can always find it at the hosting site, which is mitchgoldman.podbean.com. And you'll find this program in about a week's time. And you'll find hundreds of other episodes, including some about Sun Ra. You know who I did a fantastic show with Craig Harris.
Oh, really?
Deep Focus, yep.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we had a great time. Mm-hmm. And it might not surprise you that one of the stories that he told a couple of great ones. One, he gave his interpretation of the space chord.
Okay.
Overlapping. Not everybody, I guess, has their own point of view of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all each have only our own individual view. None of us can see the totality.
Yep.
But he also told some great stories about Festac.
Okay.
And if you don't know, well, you're going to want to get yourself a copy of A Strange Celestial Road, Ahmed Abdullah's new book, and you go into some detail about this trip to Lagos, Nigeria, in 1977.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was one of the inspirations for the book, in fact, because I didn't think that in John Zweig's book he gave it the kind of importance that it should have as an historical event. And so I really felt that the only way it could be told, the story could be told, was that somebody was there to tell it, that someone had to tell it. And so, yeah, I took that mantle on to myself, and it was a 4-year project. But it is now out 25 years later, because I started writing the book in 1997, actually, when John Zweig's book came out, and it took me 4 years to write it. And it took then another 20 years for a publishing company, a publishing house to put it out. But I'm very satisfied now that it's out. And interestingly enough, Marilyn Nance, who was a photographer, 23 years old at the time, stayed at Festac for the entire month. And she took many, many pictures. And she has a book out that's called The Last Day in Lagos. And so we have pictures, courtesy of her, in the book of the Sun Ra Arkestra performing in Lagos, which we would not have had if the timing was not completely in sync. So her timing was perfect, and the timing of the book coming out was perfect, so that we have her photos in the book of the Sun Ra Arkestra being in Lagos, Nigeria in 1977. Yeah.
Everybody I know who, and I've spoken to, who was there, speaks of that as a transformative moment and experience.
It really was. It really was. I mean, the historical nature of it is one thing, but experiencing it in person for the 2-week period that we were there was just the most amazing thing in my life, and I couldn't have that experience trashed. So I had to write the book.
Good.
I was compelled to write it.
Thank you. It's in A Strange Celestial Road, Ahmed Abdullah's brand new book. And once again, I don't think I've said it in this break, so I'll say it, that tomorrow night, so Tuesday, July 25th, 2023, the three of us are going to be in front of the folks at the Strand Bookstore. And so that's tomorrow night if you're listening to this live on the radio. And if you're not, then You probably missed it. Sorry about that. And that is not, a couple of people have asked me like, oh, you're going to live stream that? No, this is for the people in the room. I think, right? I mean, you got to, if you're there, you're there. And if not, well, you get this nice radio show. That's not so terrible. And you could still buy the book. But if you're there tomorrow at the Strand Bookstore at 7 p.m. on the third floor, Rare Book Room, you can get your copy signed by the author.
Yeah, but you got to be there.
You got to be there. You got to be there.
Can I just mention
please.
Also that in the book, we just mentioned Marilyn Nance's photos. We have over 50 pages of photos in the book, and some of them are by some really great photographers, Aja Cohen, for example. So that's another feature of the book that is quite exclusive, that we have all of these pictures of the Sun Ra Arkestra and different points in Ahmed's life in terms of his performing life in the book. So that's a rare thing too. I'm
glad you said that. Yeah, no, it's a huge part of the book. It really is. And it's remarkable that you can, all these stories that you tell, you can illustrate with these great photos. And a lot of them, I'm kind of a photo nut, and I love looking at photos. I go through old magazines and record covers and all that. A little strange that way, but that's how I am. And a lot of these photos, most of these photos, I've never seen. So it really is revealing. Yeah. Well, we're going to change gears a little bit. And much as there's still always more to be said about Sun Ra, there's some other artists also that mean a great deal to you. I know that. And there's some things that you refer to in the book and that come to light in our conversations. And we've got another, I'm going to say, equally remarkable recording of another artist. And why don't you tell us who that is?
We have a thesis that we call Jazz and Music of the Spirit. And we say that this music of the spirit is a music of liberation. And we have 9 progenitors of this music of the spirit. 5 of them are men, 5 of them are male, and 4 of them are female. And they include, the men include John Coltrane, Sun Ra, Duke Ellington, Yusef Lateef, and Jackie McLean. And the women include Betty Carter, Nina Simone, Mary Lou Williams, and Aminata Moseka, who we're going to hear from. And the idea is that the power of the woman, of the female voice, and I'm going to let Monique speak about this because she is the one who said that we could not have a thesis and only have men as representatives of this music of the spirit. So the spirit of the woman, the powerful energy that women bring forth, we feel is an energy that is supposed to be happening now. The imbalance that has occurred within this social structure where we are dealing with male energy is one that led us to a pandemic and closed down the world. Hillary Clinton should have been the president. And if Hillary Clinton was the president, I'm sure this world would not have been closed down. But that person who became the president, whose name I will not say, had wanted to dismantle everything that Barack Obama had put in place. And he dismantled the agency that could have really addressed the pandemic. So we have to look at this imbalance as something that has to be changed. This female energy, this creative force, procreative force, has got to be brought forward. And so I'm going to let Monique speak on that one.
So if you look at the 4 female progenitors, so Mary Lou Williams, if you look at her influence on the music and the number of musicians that she touched, in addition to her own musicality and the sacred music that she produced, this is a phenomenal history. So we have Duke Ellington, we need to have Mary Lou Williams. Betty Carter, the same thing. Up until now, we still have musicians who are being trained via the institutions that Betty Carter set up. Obviously, Nina Simone, we don't need to say anything really about that. And Aminata Moseka is one of those people who chose to write.
July 24th, 2023, Ahmed Abdullah and Monique Ngozi on the topic of Sun Ra and moving into music of Abbey Lincoln, Aminata Moseka, another spellbinding performance. So I will see you over at part 3. If you are digging this show, please do subscribe. Tell a friend. Just tell one person, tell somebody you know that about the show, that you enjoy it. Can't tell you what a difference it makes. We don't even make money from this. We're just giving it all away. But we want people to share it and know it and enjoy it and appreciate it. And you're a key part of that. Can't do it without you. Okay, see you at part 3.